Hey, how are you, my friend?
I'm doing great, Adam. You know what? I wanted to talk to you because you've been in the news lately on two issues. One, what's going on in the Ukraine. I just came from Washington, D.C., Adam Kwasman, and I took the family. We went to the Holocaust Museum. As we walked through this thing in D.C., it just chronicled the Nazis' program against the Jews in the 1930s and 40s. And it started with the Jews having to register, and that's why many Jewish people and many people of conscience around the world were stunned last week when the Ukraine started to register their Jews.
Isn't that amazing? It's 2014, and we see this happening again. These are not stories. These are not fairy tales. This is happening in real life. Now, of course, there's questions of authenticity of whether it's an official document or a semi-official document. Let me tell you, James, this is what happens when America starts falling in the world. When the forces of light retreat, the forces of darkness take power, and the first people always targeted happen to be the Jewish people.
And they have been for the last 2,500, actually 3,000 years.
And you know what? But you know what's amazing, James, is that even George Washington, from the days of George Washington, there's a very famous letter in an East Coast synagogue that it was one of the first letters that newly elected President Washington wrote was to the Jewish people, to this one large synagogue on the East Coast, saying that they'll always have a home in the United States. And what we were able to do last week before adjourning in the session, behind me stood a non-denominational Christian member, Catholic member, an LDS member, a Pentecostal apostolic member of the legislature behind me as the only Jewish member in the legislature. And we read a proclamation that was unanimously accepted by the Arizona House, saying that we stand for religious tolerance and stand for the Jews of Ukraine and the Jewish people throughout the world who have suffered. And it's something I think that's very important that state governments, local governments, and our national governments stand with the Jewish people.
I think you're right, and I think the reason why I wanted to talk to you about this is because I did see the video of you making a very impassioned speech in Phoenix. What's happening on the national level is equally as disturbing. I'm sure you are aware what our Secretary of State John Kerry said about the state of Israel being, if they don't go along with these accords, they were going to basically become an apartheid state.
It was a disgusting statement, and yesterday I called for John Kerry to resign that office. It was even made worse based on the fact that it was Holocaust Memorial Day in Israel yesterday. Yes. And frankly, the Secretary of State is the voice of the president and the administration. He knows that what those words mean. Use of the word specifically apartheid state is that phrase is used by Israel's greatest haters, those who want Israel's destruction. They want it to not exist anymore. This language is commonly used by Hamas and Hezbollah. They use that phrase specifically, apartheid state, not a state that there could be problems, not one that can foresee situations that are difficult, but specifically an apartheid state.
Senator Barack Obama. Yes, Senator Barack Obama condemned that language when he was, as he was running, saying that to refer to Israel as an apartheid state was not helpful in bringing about the two-state solution. So it's surprising to me that or actually it's not surprising, but you had John Kerry, Secretary Kerry, say it, and President Obama has been silent, didn't chastise him, just was silent. That's disturbing.
You know, I have to tell you, as a Jewish American and just as an American, just seeing the complete destruction of the American-Israeli relationship is very, very, very worrisome and tragic. And this is the real Obama administration. He hates Israel. He hates Israel. He's demonstrating it every day through either his language or his administration's language.
Or his administration's actions in the way that they have supported the Muslim Brotherhood in Libya and in Egypt, and some would argue in Syria.
It's disgusting, and it needs to be stopped immediately. That's why conservatives have to be able to go to Washington and really start dictating the terms that the president ultimately answers to the Congress, which answers to the people.
Has there been
they stand with Israel.
Has there been a bipartisan condemnation of Kerry's words, Kerry's term?
I don't want to speak for the Democratic Party. I haven't seen it come out of the Democratic Party. That doesn't mean it did not exist. But I haven't heard the calls for resignation that would happen. Imagine if a Republican said something even close to that. There would be calls for resignation immediately. The fact that the only person I've heard in Washington right now is Ted Cruz calling for his resignation. And in Arizona, I know there are other conservatives here. I know I've called for Kerry's resignation, but it's a shame to me that it's not just completely a unified voice saying this guy's got to go.
Kwasman, let me have you weigh in on the topic of the day. The president of the commissioner of the NBA today stripped Donald Sutherland of his ownership. Really, they banned Sterling. What did I say, Sutherland? The actor again. Donald Sterling. They banned him for life. They basically took his team away from him based on some illegal tapes that were leaked to the press. What do you think the impact that has on our culture?
I'm going to take a very interesting route on this one, and it's something that I've been thinking about all day. For the listeners, I want you to know I talked to James immediately this morning when we heard it. And my view screen, since I've been reading articles and really thinking about it all day, my view screen has actually changed. And here's where I'm going to come from it. I'm going to come with this from a conservative-only perspective. And the fact of the matter is it's a private association. The NBA is a private association, and even though the Clippers owner is an owner, he's a franchise owner. There's private association rules. And if 75% of that association believes X, believes that you should wear red shoes, believes that you should be gone for any type of statement, whether it's fair or unfair, we as conservatives, in my opinion, have to believe that they're doing what's best for them. And frankly, I don't care. That's kind of how I feel. I don't care. It's like if Coca-Cola says, okay, so let's say this. Let's say there's some ultra-liberal haters, and they're loud. It's a small minority, but they're really loud. And they say, Coca-Cola has red cans. When I think of red, I think of Republican and deep red. Coca-Cola should have blue cans. Let's boycott and let's act like fools. Like, let's bake. Let's color bake the Coca-Cola. And Coca-Cola makes an economic decision to change its cans. You know what? I'm either going to buy Coke or I'm not going to buy Coke, but that's a private institution. And if we as conservatives start deciding how private institutions, even if we don't like it, I believe we might start acting, unfortunately, like liberals in this way. I don't want to do what liberals do and decide what private institutions how their decision making should be. I'm going to leave them alone. And frankly, the NBA is boring on a good day. So everybody should be watching college basketball anyway.
No, they should be watching. No, they should be watching the NBA. They should be watching the Packers. Hey, Adam, always nuanced, always thoughtful conversation, and that is why we love having you on, because you bring a certain clarity to events that are happening in the world and locally. Thank you very much for your time.
James T., go to adamkwasman.com if you want to learn more. I appreciate it.
And there it is, my friends. And that's just it. I wanted to bring him on. We did talk about this.